Hello and welcome back to Nerd Doc. In this video, we're going to discuss Dane Whitman, one of the characters introduced in Eternals. There are some minor spoilers for Eternals in this video, and I'll briefly discuss one of the post-credit scenes, so if you've not seen the movie, you have been warned. Dane Whitman is played by Kit Harington, who also played Jon Snow in the Game of Thrones series. He has experience with the blade, and that will come in handy in the MCU because Dane Whitman becomes the Black Knight. He's not in Eternals much, and what little you do see of him is just normal guy Dane Whitman who works at the museum. However, in the post-credits scene at the very end of the film, we see Dane on the verge of picking up the ebony blade for the first time. For details, be sure to check out our video on both credit scenes in the description below. During the movie, it's briefly mentioned that Dane should reconcile the relationship with his uncle. In the comics, his uncle is Nathan Garrett, the previous Black Knight. However, Nathan was a villain, which makes sense as to why he and Dane are not speaking. When Dane becomes a Black Knight in the comics, he is a hero instead of a villain. Once Dane eventually picks up the ebony blade and becomes the Black Knight, the blade will give him powers. In the comics, the blade can cut through anything, which means Cap's vibranium shield may have just met its match. Again. The blade can also deflect magic, and makes its wielder immortal, unable to die. Sounds awesome, but it also corrupts the wielder and causes him to lust for violence. The Dane Whitman version of the Black Knight has a long history in the comics and is connected to a wide variety of heroes and villains, many of which are already in the MCU or will be coming soon. In the comics, Dane joins the Masters of Evil like his uncle before him. The difference is that Dane is infiltrating the team in order to bring them down. This is one of the ways that he gains the trust of the Avengers. There were several versions of the Masters of Evil in the comics, but most of them were organized by either Baron Heinrich Zemo or his son, Helmut Zero, which is the Baron Zemo we have in the MCU. Because of all the various Masters of Evil teams, it's hard to say if any of them will be represented in the MCU, but Zemo is around, and several members of the various teams are either already in the MCU or coming soon, such as Enchantress, who may or may not be Sylvie from the Loki series, Moonstone, who is rumored to be one of the villains in the Marvels, Doc Ock, who will be in Spider-Man No Way Home, the Tinkerer and Shocker, who were both in Spider-Man Homecoming, and more. In addition to the Masters of Evil, the Black Knight works alongside the Avengers, Luke Cage's Heroes for Hire, and, what may be the most significant, the Excalibur team. The Excalibur team is led by Captain Britain, who guards the Omniverse in the comics. That would probably translate to the multiverse in the MCU, since that's basically what it is, which fits in well with the whole Kang the Conqueror storyline the MCU has going on right now. And in the comics, Black Knight helped fight off Kang the Conqueror as well. Alongside Captain Britain and the Black Knight, most of the members of the Excalibur team were X-Men. With the X-Men on their way to the MCU, possibly as early as Multiverse of Madness, bringing in Captain Britain and the Excalibur team would allow for a slightly different take on the characters and avoid simply rehashing what Fox has already done. If Marvel Studios decides to bring the British heroes to the MCU, starting with the Black Knight, that could lead to their involvement in the Secret Invasion series, and even see the Black Knight do battle against Super Skrull. This all happens in the comics, so while it likely won't be a one-to-one reenactment, it won't be surprising to see Dane Whitman in the Secret Invasion Disney Plus series, and maybe even get an introduction to Captain Britain there as well. This comic run even included the Excalibur sword, which was mentioned in the Eternals movie, and last seen on the Eternals ship near the end of the film. Dane Whitman as the Black Knight is an important character in Marvel Comics, and will likely have a similar impact on the MCU. In addition to what we've already discussed here, Dane had run-ins with Deadpool, Null, who we may see in Thor Love and Thunder, and Elsa Bloodstone, who is rumored to be coming to the MCU as part of the Midnight Suns. We don't yet know when Dane Whitman will show up next in the MCU, but as mentioned, our best guess is that we'll see him next in the Secret Invasion series on Disney+. It's there that he'll probably actually become the Black Knight, and possibly meet Captain Britain and some of the other British heroes. He then may even get his own Disney Plus show, or possibly show about the Excalibur team, depending on when and how mutants are introduced to the MCU. He'll eventually mingle with Cersei again, as he was a pseudo-love interest for her during the movie. But given how Eternals ends, it may be a while before Dane and Cersei are together again. That about covers Dane Whitman and the Black Knight. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.